Welcome to Survivorneers. If you are new to the channel, in this channel we talk about spirituality and how to navigate through life skillfully using wisdom. And in this discussion, we're going to talk about how to use spiritual wisdom to be able to navigate through intimate relationships, because we all know that in relationships, they are not easy. We have to have the spiritual armor, the spiritual knowledge to navigate through those difficulties and trials of relationships so that we can be able to enjoy our relationship, to be in love in a healthy way, and not to be in toxic relationships that can destroy our spiritual stance. And so this discussion, we're going to talk about how to use wisdom to navigate through intimate relationships. I'm going to share a few tips that will set us up to be successful in trying to enjoy and embrace your intimate relationship. And lastly, how to just enjoy life. So if this sounds interesting to you, stay with us as we will develop this spiritual discussion. We want to first establish 3 pillars spiritually. And the spiritual pillars are: number 1, that we must have a love for self. And the reason that we want to first establish this foundation, because when we have that negative voice that is talking to us every day, that is telling us that we're not good enough, that is telling us that why are you in this profession or in this career, you don't have experience and you don't have enough knowledge. And so this voice begins to take over your mind and leads you into doubt and a lack of confidence. And you can see how this can develop in your mind, your body, and your spirit. This is the human constitution, and it starts to destroy the goodness that is in you. And so first of all, spiritual pillar number 1 is to take care of yourself first. Because how can you give love to your intimate partner if you are constantly in a bad mood? How can you give love to your intimate partner if you have not taken care of that negative voice and those negative thoughts shooting negative energies into your body? And what goes in, as the old spiritual saying goes, is what's going to come out. So spiritual pillar number 1, make sure that you are taking care of yourself, exercising, feeding your mind and your body positive things, eating right, exercising, and these things that can begin to give us the energy positively so that we can give that peace and joy back to our intimate partners. The next spiritual pillar, number 2, is to have a love for others. I know that we just established that how can we love our intimate partner if there is something going on in our spirit, but I want to encourage you today, as you are soaking up this spiritual discussion, is that when you have a love for others besides, your intimate partner, besides your kids, your brother, your sister, and so on, your immediate family, you can begin to build a different kind of love for society. And you might say, well, I'm satisfied with my everyday life. I love my family, my kids, and those that you are close to, and that's all I need. And I want to live a quiet, simple life. And that is beautiful because you do find fulfillment. But if you have the opportunity to show compassion, to show kindness to other people, perhaps and even a stranger, you will see that when you give of your personal peace and joy to someone else that you may not know, it develops a different kind of healthy spiritual thing within yourself. And some experts say that when you are in the giving spirit, it is actually activating the parasympathetic nervous system. You might say, well, what in the world is that? Well, the parasympathetic nervous system is that system of the body that keeps us calm, that keeps us balanced spiritually, and it's just a healthy vibe and energy that is flowing through us. And that's why the old saying, you may have heard the golden saying, treat others as you would want to be treated. And I like to just go a little further and challenge us. When we are kind and we have an impact on society in a general sense, it can add to our spiritual life. So this is spiritual pillar number 2, is to have a love for others, and especially to make sure to not neglect spiritual pillar number 1, which is to have a love for self. I want to remind us that these spiritual pillars, number 1 and number 2 so far that we have seen, will help us in our intimate relationships. So stay focused with me as we are continuing, and I'm going to give even more tips in just a moment for us to be successful with our intimate partner. So spiritual pillar number 3, when we have taken care of ourselves, when we are giving peace and joy back to others and people in society, and that is in turn feeding us spiritually and keeping us spiritually healthy, we want to have a love for life. I know that when we are around people, and you can tell in their body language, in their facial expressions, that they are going through something and they are miserable. And you can see that they easily gossip about other people. They easily start to tell you personal problems that maybe they should not even be sharing. They even go to the point of trying to drag you into their toxicity and try to make excuses for why they are in the situation in a relationship. And so this is unhappiness. The person is living in a state of not being content, not being satisfied, and everything around them is just causing chaos for them. In other words, they just are miserable. And you know these people, you've seen them. You may have family members in this situation. You may be in this situation right now with your intimate partner. But I want to encourage you that the number one thing that we can do in this type of difficulty is to maintain our happiness, to maintain our spiritual balance. We want to make sure that we are the light, that we are that city on a hill that you cannot miss. And when people come into your vicinity, they feel your joy, they feel your peace, they can see the positivity in you, and no one or no thing can take that from you. No one can steal that from you because you are spiritually advanced. You have been able to set aside problems and things separately and deal with them, of course, when they need to be dealt with properly. But you are just enjoying your life and everything around you. And if something does come your way, you know how to be prepared for it. You are not that foundation that was built on the sand. You are that foundation that was built upon the rock, as the old parable says. And so when the storms come and it begins to try to weigh upon it, you will stand in joy, in peace, and you will be the light for not only yourself, but for others. So spiritual pillar number 3 is to have a love for life. And this is the question: how can you love your partner? How can you give them peace and joy if you are not content within yourself and within your life? It's not possible. In other words, darkness and light cannot mix. You either have to be one or the other. Sadness and joy cannot mix. You have to demonstrate or exude that emotion separately. And of course, we do have times where we are experiencing all kinds of emotions, and those can get jumbled up and mixed up. But generally, what I'm talking about is that when we choose the path of peace and joy, we can give that back to our intimate partner. I want to leave you with this nugget of wisdom for you in your intimate relationship, if you are in an intimate relationship. And that is, how do you know when you should stay with your partner or you should leave? Now, I know that there are all kinds of different cases and situations out there. And so I'm just anticipating that some of us do at some point in our relationship ask ourselves this question: should I stay married or should I get a divorce? Should I stay with my partner and put up with the things that I'm not content with, or should I leave and start anew? These are very difficult situations, and this is why this discussion had mentioned, how do you use spiritual wisdom, to navigate your relationship? I think one of the things that we should look out for is patterns of behavior. When we look out for patterns of behavior, and there is no doubt that these behaviors are set in, and there is no doubt that your partner has made an effort to get therapy or to just talk to you as a human being, or to just try and do small things, taking little steps to change the situation, and you see that it's happening over and over and over, and they do not want to change, then spiritual wisdom will say it may be time to separate or leave your partner. But of course, that is your decision. No one can tell you what to do. Only your spirit, only the wisdom that you have gathered and acquired over time in your relationship will help you with that. And so this nugget of wisdom will help us. And remember, wisdom is not just intelligence. It's not just knowing something. It is having not only a bank of knowledge, but it's also having the understanding of that bank of knowledge. And when you couple the two and you put those two together, you now have the spiritual ammunition to make a decision in what to do in that dilemma. In other words, you are making application of it. You are applying what you know. You are applying what you see, patterns of behavior in that relationship. Things that just are not changing, and your partner is being disrespectful. They have a lack of empathy, or sometimes even no empathy. They are not listening to you. And so you begin to see this picture. Now, this is just an example of what we are talking about and how to use spiritual wisdom. But I believe that many of us face this in our relationship. So remember, as we summarize here, is to have a love for self, have a love for others, and have a love for life. And when you bring all this spiritual education together, it's not only meditation, but it's application of this knowledge. You will begin to see that you become spiritually balanced. You are staying healthy in your mind, your body, and spirit, the human constitution once again, and you will be able to move forward. I hope that this spiritual discussion has been helpful to each of us. Remember to subscribe to Survivorneers if you are finding value in these spiritual videos. And if this video sparked your interest in spirituality, I have another video if you would like to consider. It should be coming on the screen now, called The Importance of Spirituality. And that will go also into the pillars, but give even more value for you for your spiritual life. So check out that video, and I appreciate all your support.